Welcome to Knittin Politickin, a weekly series of conversations on issues we face today. And tonight, I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk tonight about our campaign, what we're doing in the district, how things are going out there for Democrats in the 2nd Congressional District. And I'm going to answer all your questions. So just be sure to put them in the Facebook comments. And we've been gathering questions actually all day. We're going to answer those and any new ones that you've come up with. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to answer your questions because, in the time of COVID, it's hard to get out and do events and actually get a chance to have meaningful conversations with people at their doorstep or at an event. So we're going to just have to Zoom it. But first, what am I working on? Well, and someone did ask that today, what am I working on? Today, I am finishing up a project that I started quite a while ago. I have a very dear auntie. We call them Tia. She's my Tia, and I hope she's not watching because this is her Christmas gift. But she loves owls. And so I made her this little cap. And if you can see, it's a cabled pattern and it's little owls. So I'm sewing the eyes on them. And we'll see what happens. It just, it's just a little hat for the winter. And I was just learning how to spin yarn when she and my cousins were here. And this was the yarn I was working on, this pretty gray stuff. So I added some mohair to it, and it's nice and soft, and it's going to be nice and warm for the winter. So I'm going to be sewing some buttons on that while we're talking. So Nick wants to know what I think about public schools in East Tennessee. Well, Nick, I'm a product of public school. My dad was a public school teacher. And I am a big proponent of public school. I think that is part of what being in a robust civic society is required to do. And that is to teach the next generation so that they can improve their lives and improve the lives of their families. And right now, our public education system is under assault, and it has been for decades, frankly. I believe that there's been a push to defund schools, to try to find a way to segregate again using charter schools and trying to get public money for what is essentially private schooling. I'm not for that. I would like to see us overhaul our education system and the way we fund it right now under No Child Left Behind. It created all these performance measures. I'm not opposed to that. I think performance measures are great, but it connected funding with success. And so failing schools got less funding. And so what happened was schools that needed more assistance and support ended up getting less. And those schools tended to be in poor areas in the urban areas, and then in our rural communities. And they became more and more defunded. And it got to the point where parents were becoming unhappy. And then there was this charter school movement that came out of that. And I would like to see us put more emphasis on making every school, equivalent to every other school. So it doesn't matter where you live. You don't have to find that zip code that has the best school system. Anywhere you would like to live in the United States, you can be assured that your child will get a quality education, one that will meet the needs of now and the future. And so I'm a real proponent of public schools, and you can count on me to support them. And speaking of East Tennessee, I want to talk a little bit about the district, where it is and what it's about. And first of all, some geography. The 2nd Congressional District is one of 9 districts in the state of Tennessee. And it shifts a lot because every 10 years we redistrict. And so in this past decade, the district has included Knox County, Blount County, Loudoun County, Campbell County, a sliver of Campbell County, Claiborne County, about 3/4 of Jefferson County, and all of Granger County. So it's a real unique district. It's got a big urban city. The 3rd largest city in the state is in this district. Maryville's an up-and-coming city, and then it's got a lot of rural areas. So I think a good congressional representative needs to meet the balance of the rural areas and our urban areas so that all the people in your district feel like they're getting their voices heard and they're getting good representation. people have been saying, oh, this district, it's, you know, ruby, ruby red. And the truth is that this district is the longest Republican held district in the country. 157 years it's been in Republican hands. And so it is very Republican. It was Republican during the Civil War. It was the party of Lincoln. But it's been trending back towards Democrats ever since 2012. In every federal election, it's been moving slowly towards Democrats. And in 2018, I moved the district almost 19 points. And in the grand scheme of all the districts, there are 435 congressional districts in the United States. And this district is ranked 35 out of 435 for its shift towards Democrats. And we did a little analysis on how much money it takes to move your district 19 points. And the average is $4 million. That was the average amount of money campaigns raised to move their district 19 points or more. And we did it on $350,000. So it really says to me that this district has been wanting to do a shift and just needed someone to give it a good shove. This district, when you look at it compared to all the other Republican held districts in the state, is the least Republican, it turns out. So in 2016, Trump and Clinton actually did worse than Obama and Romney. And, you know, our voting turnout in the state was, you know, depending on what you look at, either 49 or 50 for voter turnout. And Knox County's turnout was less than that. So with such low voter turnout and with some real, I would say, sort of reluctant lean to the right, we don't really know this electorate because not everybody votes, and we don't really know. But my suspicion is this district has a progressive lean, and it turns out that it flipped on Super Tuesday. And districts do that off and on in primaries, but this district hasn't done that in decades. So it's flipped once. Right now in Knox County, Democrats and Republicans are tied. I haven't gotten the numbers from today, but as of last night, they were about even. Republican votes and Democratic votes, including absentee ballots, which is unusual. Democrats are usually at 30, so we're looking at a 50-50. We could get another flipper this year. That'll be great to flip it twice in the same year. And fundraising has been great. I out-fundraised Tim Burchett in the first quarter. I then repeated that in the second quarter, but I also out-fundraised every congressional campaign in the state of Tennessee, including all the Republicans and all the incumbents. So there's a lot of really good energy here. And I know we wanted a wave to crash in 2018 on Tennessee. And as I've said before, I think what we got was a big swell. And for those of you that spend any time in big water or out in the ocean, you know those big swells sometimes pass under you, but then the wave breaks and you can get a nice ride. So that's what we're looking for November. So I want all of you to get out and vote, to get your communities to go out and vote. And remember that a vote for one Democrat is a vote for all Democrats. So if somebody's going out to vote for a Democratic county commissioner, you know they're going to vote Democrat for the rest of it. So all the hard work, all of our Democratic candidates and their teams are doing is going to benefit all the other work that our Democratic teams are doing. So I'm looking forward to a robust election in August and again in November. So I got a question from Twitter. I left a spot blank on my ballot. Will it still count? That's a good question. Yeah, your ballot counts. You can leave it blank. You can leave, if the whole thing is blank, of course, it doesn't count. But if you don't want to vote in a particular race, you can certainly leave it blank, or you can write someone's name in. I always thought it'd be great if the Election Commission would like have a list of all of the races and then all the write-ins. It'd be really interesting to see what people write in. So Jess wants to know, I've not been political before, but after paying attention this year, I can't be dismissive. How can I start getting involved? Well, Jess, join the club. I think a lot of us were that way. I certainly was not as politically engaged. until I started running, mostly after the 2016 election. I mean, I ran the Tennessee Clean Water Network. I did a lot of lobbying on behalf of clean water. I would help friends who were running for office, but I wasn't super engaged. And the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you are registered to vote and that you're going to vote. And if you vote early, you can vote at any precinct, but if you don't want to vote until election day, and many good reasons for that, make sure you know where your voting precinct is, because voting is the one piece of power that you have. And so if you've never been politically involved before, if you've never voted, it's a new day. Register to vote, and you can register to vote now for the November election. You can't register to vote now for the August election, which is too bad. But you can certainly do that. And then the next thing you can do is start, spend some time researching the candidates. The Election Commission has a list of who's running, and, get to know all the folks on your ballot. Call them. They're not as busy as they think they are, or that they say they are, really. I mean, if you called up a candidate, they'd love to talk to you and tell you what they're about. So be sure that you get to know them, find out if they're on an event, follow them on Facebook, on the socials, ask them questions, see what they're about. And then if you really like one candidate, or you can work on their campaign. We always need people to make phone calls and do texts, and there's lots of errands, office errands, people to deliver signs, people to do other office chores. Get involved in a campaign, get involved in your local party. We have a very active Knox County Democratic Party group here, and most of the districts have real active monthly meetings. They're all on Zoom now, or they're outdoors, but you can still get involved and see all the people that are Democrats in your community and get to know them more and work on campaigns together. So, and just, I think it's always just good to pay a little bit more attention, read a little bit more national news, and think for yourself. You don't need to just jump on a party's platform, really. I encourage you to listen, to read the issues, and get as educated as you can, and try to make good decisions that way. So, a question from Facebook. Do you have any yard signs available? Oh, yes, we have yard signs. There's two ways you can get them. You can buy them at the store and they'll ship them directly to your house. Or you can go to our website, oyosforcongress.com. That's HOYOSFOR, congress.com. There's a volunteer tab, and you can fill out the information and then click yard sign, and a volunteer will bring it out to you in a day or two. So be sure to get your signs out. I love my signs. I think they're pretty. I think they look good in your yard. So be sure to get out there and get some signs up. Todd wants to know, would you debate Congressman Tim Burchett after the election in August? Yes, I would love to have a debate with Tim Burchett. We kind of had one last year, and it's still up if you want to go look at it. WBIR invited me to come talk and to be interviewed, and they didn't tell me that Tim was coming. They didn't tell Tim that I was going to be there, and so it was kind of a surprise. I loved it. I don't think Tim was very happy with it, but they got us there together, and you should go look at that interview, because not much has changed, I think, from that interview about who we are as candidates and as people. But I would definitely urge him to have a debate. And if any of you have ins with the TV stations, it'd be great if they would agree to televise it. So absolutely. John wants to know, what issue do you see as the most important for the 2nd District? Yeah, the issue. So many issues are tied together. Everything is hitched to everything else. And I think we're seeing this now with COVID-19. We're seeing how bad our healthcare system is, how many holes we have in the system, how people are starting to drop through the safety net, how easy it is for any of us to drop through the safety net, how hard it is to get care, and how important it is that we are all cared for under a healthcare system. And that is also directly tied to our economy. And if you don't have good healthcare, as you're seeing now, with this virus, we had no national plan for dealing with it. There was no way that we were going to be able to have a unified response without a strategy from the top. So we don't have that. We don't have the apex of the triangle. So now all the states are left to kind of figure it out on their own. And they're having a hard time. And there's no consistency among the states. And a lot of them, like our governor, is punting to the counties, do what you think, but no mask mandate. And so the counties and the cities are trying to figure this out. The health departments, everybody's just trying to scramble. And this is really negatively affecting the economy. We've already been in a lockdown once. We've had 2 weeks of spikes in Tennessee. We may be looking at another quarantine, which would, save lives. And then what do we do about the economy? So for me, healthcare and the economy are really, really tied together, especially right now. The second district's, the majority of the economy is micro and small business. We don't have heavy manufacturing here like some districts do. And so we've got lots of people that have small businesses that are getting creamed. And I'm a real proponent of small business. I really feel that small business actually is better at job creation than these big mega projects. And I really want to protect and maintain and encourage our small local businesses, which are really going to be under threat. There's a lot of talk that we're going to be overrun by the big conglomerates, Amazon, and they're just going to run the world now. And I really want to push against that. I want us to keep our local shops open, our local shopkeepers and our local restaurants open. I just think that's really important, and especially in the coming months. David wants to know, how can we fix Obamacare? Well, there's a couple things that we can do. If you want to keep Obamacare, there was a bill that was called Medicare for America that got some traction in the last legislative session. And it was really not really about Medicare. It was really about taking the Affordable Care Act and trying to patch it up. And if that's the way the country goes, some of the things that I think we knew going into the Affordable Care Act that need to be fixed are, first of all, its availability. The subsidies need to be retooled. I was not working last year. I did not have an employer that was giving me a W-2. I was living on some savings, and I had to pay $800 a month. And so someone who is unemployed, I got no subsidy because it was tied to my work. So we have to unhook our healthcare system from work, because for a couple of reasons. One is I wasn't working. And why do I get penalized with an obscene health insurance policy that covered nothing? Because I'm not working. Now I'm getting paid by the campaign and I get a subsidy, and my insurance is now very, very affordable. Well, that's crazy, because I went from not making any money to having an enormous policy, and now making very little money and having a great policy. So the subsidies and the way we fund it need to be fixed. I would prefer that everybody just gets covered, and it's a sliding scale. And if you can't afford to pay for insurance, it's covered for you on, basically with, a granting program, very much like Medicaid and Medicare. All the way up to, you're paying full price if you're, Elon Musk, you're not getting a subsidy. I think we need to really get to the cost of pharmaceuticals. And unfortunately, the federal government is not allowed to negotiate costs for pharmaceuticals. And I think that needs to change. I think the government should be doing all the pricing for that now. Insulin is the biggest and most horrible example of how pricing has gone out of control. Insulin has been on the market for decades. It's easy to make, and suddenly people are having to choose between food and their medication. And I know personally, a good friend of mine's brother died because he had to titrate his dosage. He couldn't afford the regular dose, and he ended up dying. And that is immoral and irresponsible, because that medication should only cost as much as aspirin, quite frankly. It's been around for decades. It's been in generic form. That is crazy that it's like $300, a vial. I think it was $300 to $1,000 a month, depending on where you're getting it from. That's crazy. So we need to get that under control, because the cost of pharmaceuticals is high. Pharmaceuticals also enjoy a 20-year patent span. And so they get to keep their high prices and prevent things from going to the generic market for 20 years. We got to get rid of that. 10 years, 6 years. Yeah, I get R&D is expensive, and I'd like them to stop advertising on television because a lot of dollars are tied up with advertising. So, the questions are stacking up, but those are some of the things that I think that we should be doing to get healthcare available for everyone. What is the low-hanging fruit that we can do for cleaner water in Tennessee? The best thing that you can do for water quality is to just use less of it, because the more we use it, the dirtier it gets. Am I right? So water conservation is really, really important that we do on a regular basis, that we try to buy water conservating appliances, that we encourage our industry to really try to do water saving measures so that we're just not using as much as we have been before. I mean, people used to sort of make fun of turn the tap off when you brush your teeth. Well, honestly, that can save gallons. So stuff like that. I mean, it's small measures, but it helps. And then I think we really need to bring back enforcement of water quality laws. And that's what I worked on when I was at the network, was trying to get enforcement to be robust. And we weren't asking for them to, go crazy about enforcement. We were just saying there are laws on the books. Let's enforce those. And let's try to make sure that everybody's operating on a level playing field, because mostly a lot of the pollution, probably one of the biggest sources of pollution, is stormwater runoff from construction sites. And 15 years ago, it was really bad. I've seen a lot of improvement. I think it is because of awareness. And I think, folks have decided, it's just better for your business if you're not like polluting the local creek. But for many years, developers could cut costs, sort of skimp on the stormwater management practices, completely pollute a creek, flood out everybody downstream, and to be able to charge less for a house than another developer who was trying to do it right. And so the point of these laws is to level the playing field, but you also have to have enforcement of these laws. And so I would like to see enforcement take a bigger step in water quality protection. Stacy wants to know, what do you think can slow the spread of COVID-19? This is a mask. My friend Kelly Seegers made a bunch of them. If you'd like to get some from her, I'm sure she would love to sew you some. It's a little side business that she's making, but this is a mask. And when you wear it, any kind of like large droplets get blocked. So you are not spreading the virus should you have it to someone else. And if they're wearing a mask, they're not spreading the virus to you. And so it's real important that whenever you go out, that you wear a mask. If you are going to be inside with a group, you should wear a mask, because if you're outside, there's a lot of circulating air, so it appears that you're pretty safe. So if you're, keeping social distancing, you'll probably be fine without a mask, although, better to be safe than sorry. And but if you're indoors, do wear a mask. It's important. And a lot of people are kind of making fun of people that wear masks, and then the people that are wearing masks are making fun of people that aren't wearing masks. Let's just stop with the mask wars and please everybody wear one when you go out. Try not to go out that much. I mean, if you can, try to limit your trips out. Try to limit your trips out. If you're going to eat at a restaurant, be outdoors or be in a place that has a lot of open air circulation. But really, keep yourself cleaned and, wash your hands, and please, just be kind to each other. We've got months to go before this is over. And so just everybody try to care for someone else. That's what a mask says. It means I care about you. I care about your health. So I'm gonna wear this mask to protect you. Okay, Tom wants to know, why should you vote for me? Tom, that's a great question. I think you should vote for me because I care about every person in the 2nd District. I care about all Americans even. I don't care that you're a Republican. I don't care if you're a Libertarian. I care about your health. I care about the schooling that you get or your children get. I care about you being able to take care of yourself, that you have, that you work 40 hours and you can come home and you don't have to worry about, making rent because your salary is so low. I care about all of you having clean air and clean water. I care about you having good health coverage so that if you get sick, you're not going to have to sell the house. That is why you should vote for me. I will work hard to make sure that your life is better. And I have lived here for, many years, and it's, like I said, it's the longest Republican held district in the country. And we have the lowest health outcomes for everything. We have the lowest outcomes for health, the lowest outcomes for education. So I think it's really, really important that we start electing people that care about people and less about politics. How can we help the campaign? Yes, well, my job as a candidate is to ask for your vote and your money. And I hope that you have either registered as an absentee or you are going to go early voting, wearing your mask to early voting. All reports that I have heard about people going to early voting say it's a bit of a wait, but it's fine. There was a lot of concern about the scanners, but people seem to be okay with that. People are pretty happy in Knox County that we've got a paper ballot system. So please do go vote. A great way to help me is to donate if you can. And I know it's a hard time right now, so I'm not asking you to choose between food and a donation, but if you've got some extra money and you want to put it to good use, that would be great if you could donate to the campaign. You go to the website, oyosforcongress.com. We always need people that will do phone calls and texts. And, we need you to talk to your neighbors, make sure that all of your friends in your network are voting. If you want to help us make phone calls, you can go to the website. There's a volunteer tab and there's options that you can click, or you can write to our field director, Caroline Cranford. She's at caroline@oyosforcongress.com, and talk to her about how you want to fit in the campaign, because we want to find a job for you that you want to do. It's important that you feel like you're participating in the way that you want to participate. So we would love it if you would do that. Just go to the website or ask Caroline. How can we quell the fears of higher taxes in our fellow swing voters? Yeah, taxes is a big issue. They always say, there's only two certain things in life, and that's death and taxes. And I've always been sorry that taxes have been put into that category, because, taxation is part of being in a community. We sort of pool our dollars, and with our pooled money, we have things that benefit the community. We have roads that are maintained, and we have electricity, and we have bridges, and we have clean water, and we have schools, and we have sewage treatment plants and drinking water plants, and all these things that benefit the community are paid for by the community, and they should be paid for at the level in which you're earning. But that's actually not the way it is. And I think the reason taxes get a bad rap is because in the United States, we have a regressive tax system. Poor people pay more. And I understand the anger about having to pay more and more taxes, because poor and middle incomes pay more than higher incomes. And the tax break for the wealthy has lost income for the United States. And so we have less to fall back on. For example, if you, here's an example of a regressive tax system. And the way we pay for Social Security is through your payroll tax, Social Security and Medicare. But there's a cap. So if you make more than, I think it's $139,000, you no longer pay Social Security taxes. So if you're making, $400 a year up to, 138, you're paying 7.5% of your money in taxes. If you are if you're in business for yourself, you're paying almost 15% in taxes. And then somehow you cross this magical threshold and you're no longer paying taxes. Well, these people that are making more money should still pay into that, and we should make a structure so that if you're making less money, you pay less. And as you increase in your income, you should pay more. And we've been conditioned by Republicans, I think, to say that that's a bad system. Well, to whom much is given, much is required. And if you're making a lot of money, then you have a bigger responsibility towards the community. And so if I was ever to vote for taxes, it would be for raising taxes on the wealthy. I do not want to raise taxes on low and middle income people, not ever. We are taxed plenty. We are paying for everything. And it is too much of a burden for us now. It is time for the wealthy and the uber wealthy to pay their fair share. And that's what I promise to work for. Well, and most of the people in the 2nd District would never be caught up in the kind of taxation I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, your wealthy neighbor. I'm talking about people that we would never, ever meet in our daily lives because we don't run in those circles. Those people should pay more in taxes, not us. Dawn wants to know how your cats are doing. Yeah, well, Dee Dee, who sits on my lap while I make phone calls, and I call her the call time manager because she makes sure that I stay in my seat, got really sick last week. And I took her to the vet and she had a fever of unknown origin. I didn't know. Apparently this is common in cats. And I go to Riverside Vet Clinic. Shout out to Dr. Norman. She took care of her, gave her a shot of an antibiotic and sent her home with a few meds. And she's doing really well. She's still kind of quiet, but she's eating and her fever is gone. I took her back for a checkup today. So we think we're past this fever. She and Dinah got into a really bad fight about 2 weeks ago. And Dinah had like bite marks in her neck. But I think Dinah kind of gave it to Dee Dee and she got an infection from it. So poor Dee Dee got cat scratch fever. What efforts do you support to combat and slow climate change? Oh, yeah, this is bad. It's just getting worse and worse. We're going to have 90-degree weather for 3 weeks this year. That is, I believe, the longest stretch we have ever had. And I am growing very concerned about it in so many ways. I've been concerned about it for years. We have got to get off fossil fuels. We just have to. And we have to do it fast. And so I think I would really work towards a transition to renewables as fast as we can. And that means investing in renewables, investing in the technology, and like all investments in technology, those technology gains that we get for renewable energy are going to have other advantages for other industries. That's the way it always works. You get a new technology for something and then you find out it's got applications all over. So I would definitely want us to move post-haste towards a fossil fuel-less world. It's good for the climate. It's good for public health. We had the worst on-land environmental disaster in the country when we had the Kingston coal ash spill on December 22nd, 2008. And the cleanup, this is how toxic that stuff was. The cleanup has killed almost 60 people. And there's a lot of reasons for that, aside from the fact that this is super dirty. I mean, I think the company that hired them was derelict in their duty to protect the folks, because we all knew how bad it was. I mean, it is the periodic table of the elements in burnt coal, and it was just so concentrated that people got arsenic and heavy metal poisoning. And that's what happens with fossil fuels. So we need to get away from it, not only for the climate, but for personal health. And we need to transition to renewables in a way that we can go to places that have had traditional energy jobs and make sure that they are in full employment on new energy jobs. So I really want to push for that. Luke's wants to know, what is something you are most proud of from your time at the Tennessee Clean Water Network? Wow, there are so many things that we accomplished at the network. But the one thing I think that I have to only talk about one. Okay. When I started at the network, we were in the middle of a lawsuit with the Knoxville Utility Board. And it is the best success story I have ever been involved in and have ever heard about in my years working as an environmental activist. And I give all the credit to Mintha Roach. She was the CEO of KUB at the time, and she had to make a lot of really hard, unpleasant decisions. And she did them. She did them with courage, and she did them with conviction. And we cleaned up our entire sewer shed in 10 years. That means that a piece of technology went through every pipe in all of the area that they controlled. And they revamped a lot of their sewage treatment plants. They have 4 or 5 plants in their service area. And the one thing she did that was really smart was she had, every month we met, and it was called the Partners Council. And they gave us an idea, they gave us like a report of everything they had done that month towards the consent decree, which is, you know, we sued in federal court, and then we filed a consent decree in federal court. And then a judge had to oversee all of the fixes. And we met every month, and I learned a lot about what happens in a sewage treatment plant. And I have great respect for people that work in our utilities. You know, working on the sewage treatment plant, I mean, we kind of snicker because it's, you know, ew, it's kind of gross. But that is a real important part of our utility infrastructure. And I've always been devoted to trying to get more money so that sewage treatment plants can continue to upgrade and keep our waterways safe and dispose of our wastes in a productive way. And we went on to sue 3 other sewage treatment plants and or cities. It was 3 other cities. It was Memphis, Chattanooga, and Madisonville. And I was able to use what I learned from that experience to have a lawsuit against these other places that wasn't just an advocate coming in and being dogmatic and demanding. I could see their struggles. I remember in particular this settlement discussion we had in Memphis, and the feds wanted them to do this reporting, and it was just, oh, it was terrible. All this reporting they had to do for everything they did towards fixing a sewer overflow. There were all these report requirements, and I remember saying, I don't want that for them. I don't want this to be burdensome. I want them to spend their energy fixing the problem and keeping it fixed. I don't want them spending all their time having to report out on what they did. And they came up to me, the city of Memphis came up to me afterwards and said, I couldn't believe I could hear that from an activist. So I look back on that lawsuit with KUB with a lot of fondness. I learned a lot, and it was stuff that I was able to carry over into other lawsuits so that we could actually fix the problem and not, as what often happens, you know, make enemies out of the other side. And so I would say that was the one that I think of the most. What are the best, so Dina wants to know, what are the best resources for someone to learn more about state and local politics in Tennessee for someone who is new? There is so much information out there and it's exhausting. Yeah, you know, it is hard. It is hard to find a one-stop shop. One thing you can do is you can look on your you can start with your voter registration card, because your voter registration card is going to tell you what districts you live in for city council, if you're in the city, county commission, school board, state house, state senate, Congress. And I would start there, and then I would just Google all those positions. So I'm in City Council District 1, so I would put in City Council District 1, and you'll probably go to the Election Commission and they'll show you the map. So you'll see the map of the district. And then from there, you can find out who's your representative and get to know them. When I was at the network, people would say, what could I do? And I'd say, friend your legislator. Get to know them, because your vote is important to them. And if all they hear from are lobbyists, your voice just gets diminished. So call them and let them know, these are the things that I'm concerned about, and I want to know your positions. And then just get on the phone. Google, read up about them. If you like them, get on. If you sort of like them and you want to push them in a direction, get on the phone. Talk to your legislature. They'll know what you mean, and form a relationship with them so that they know, oh, yeah, Dina's calling. She wants to know about schools. I know that. I'm going to talk to Dina and we're going to talk about schools. And I hope to have some things ready for her so that I don't get yelled at. So that's the kind of relationship you want with your legislator. John wants to know, from rivers to restaurants, what are some of your favorite parts of East Tennessee? Well, the cool thing about being the executive director of the Tennessee Clean Water Network is I got to travel all over the state. And I have to tell you that in general, if I was out in the countryside, I remember thinking to myself every time I go for a drive to visit a site, that every time I turned a corner, there was another beautiful vista. And then you turn the corner and then there's another beautiful vista. I mean, it is gorgeous out here. It is so beautiful. And I don't want to see all of that developed into like subdivisions. I'm so worried about that. I mean, I hope we can find a way to house people that's not ripping up our beautiful rivers and streams. I think I just love the creeks around here. I've spent a lot of time. My heart is really at Williams Creek in East Knoxville. I love that little creek. I worked on it for years. The Williams Creek Urban Forest was something that we did at the network. And I know it's kind of at the bottom of the list at parks. I really wish they would elevate it. It's 10 acres, and we'd really like to make it kind of a wildy place in East Knoxville because there's not a lot of parks out there. And just have a place for people to go. And one time I was visiting it, I ran goats out there for 4 or 5 years. You've probably heard of Breakfast with the Goats. We did some really fun stuff out there. And I was driving along and I saw this guy come up from the creek with this little boy. And I waited for them to hike up to the road and I asked them what they were doing, and they were hunting crawdads. He was teaching his son how to hunt crawdads in this urban creek. And I, it really got to me. Restaurants, let's see. Oh, I love to eat. So just about any restaurant that serves food is good for me. But some of my favorites, so I used to live in Oakwood Lincoln Park. I love Rankin Restaurant. I am so sorry that it's closed. I hope it can open again. Those are the best biscuits on the planet. And here's how I know that. I was on an airplane with an executive from Waffle House. And I said to him, have you heard about Rankin Restaurant? And he went, yes, yes, yes. They make different biscuits. Those are different biscuits. We make buttermilk biscuits. They use sweet milk. He got very defensive. So that's when I knew Rankin had great biscuits. So when they open, I cannot wait till they open again because I'm going to have breakfast there. Let's see, I love, of course, all the restaurants in the downtown area. Some local restaurants here. The Landing House is good. Adopo has wonderful pizza. I love the pizza there. Out in the counties, there's a little cafe, the Creek Cafe up in Cumberland Gap. That's a really great place. You can get great food there and ice cream, and they make their own cakes. In fact, I'm going to feature them soon, so watch out. Watch out on one of these Fridays. You're going to see them featured. So up in Claiborne County, over in Blount County, I love the Bird in the Book. They have great chicken salad. You can get chicken salad 6 ways to Sunday. So that's a great place, and I can't wait until they fully open up. Oh, I can't wait till we get a vaccine and we all get herd immunity and we can go back to going out and eating and having, good local beer and eating local food. And the Tomato Head, of course, is one of my favorites. They've got great pizza. So that's all the questions we have. Wow, it filled 40 minutes. I hope I was able to answer some of your questions. You can talk to me on the socials. My phone number is on the webpage. Call me. I'll ask you for money after our conversation, probably. Yeah, please get out and vote. We're still in early voting. And then we have the election on August 6th. Great races up and down the ballot. Justin Davis, Virginia Couch, Elizabeth Rowland, of course, Gloria Johnson. My God, Gloria. We've got some contested races in a couple of districts, so do your homework and vote. And then we've got, the federal races. There's a contested race for the state Senate on the Democratic side. So again, get the list and look up everybody and do your due diligence. Chance Brown, as you know, has declined to continue participating in the race, and I appreciate all his efforts. And he and I are gonna talk tomorrow. So I'm really the only one on the ballot for my race. But help out these other candidates too. We're all running as a team. We're the class of 2020, and it'd be great to usher all of us in. Jay Clark, Susan Sneed out in Blount County, Delynn McCash over in Jefferson County is running for House. So there's just lots of good candidates all over the 2nd District, and we need more, and we need more people to help candidates. So thank you all so much. It was a pleasure getting to answer all your questions, and go out and vote and help the candidates. It's the most important election of the country, and certainly the November one will be. So practice now, either early voting or absentee ballot, and then go out and vote. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you next week.